Hey, it's your girl Qiana, the executive director and founder of Life After Release. I'm here today to do a talk interview with a young lady who we don't do names because names are not important. What is important is the story and the situation at hand as it is related to the criminal legal system. So we're going to talk about the topic today is participatory defense, what it is and why it's important. And I'm going to do not as much talking because I know you had a very expansive experience from beginning to end with this criminal legal system.
Right.
So I want you to tell me a little bit about what you've learned, what you've gone through, and your impact.
Okay. So I've learned that it doesn't matter whether you know the person or not. Sometimes you just get an honest love, genuine love. And that's what Laura is. Laura is that genuine love. Laura went through every court session, behind the scenes, motivation, paying bills. They did it all. And you guys are great.
Cut it. So we talked about it being LAR being love, and our love came from my personal experience going through the criminal legal system. At the time of my experience, I had been a mother of two. I had worked for the federal government for 11 years and had never been in any trouble before. I just wanted to kind of like go through the system quietly without any drawing any attention. So I didn't want anybody to go to court with me. I didn't want anybody to know, right, what I was going through because I was so ashamed of what I was going through at the time. And the media didn't help by putting it all over the media and stuff and social media and things of that nature. That didn't help. And so what I realized was, even when I was going through my own case, I never saw my discovery.
Right.
I didn't know what a discovery was until after my case was over and I went to prison and they were like, oh, well, that wasn't a discovery. I was like, what is that?
Right.
And they was like, that's the packet of information that your lawyer shows you. You go over it together. I was like, I ain't never see that.
Right.
And so what I realized was that had I had participatory defense, it's no way I would have went to prison. I put my life on that. I would have not have gone. My charges, I would have either, because I went to trial. Right. I'm a 10%er. My co-defendants, they took pleas, and I was determined. I was like, no, I'm not taking a plea deal. This is not fair. I want my day in court. And I thought for sure that going to court, coming out, I was going to be found not guilty. But it's not. It doesn't work like that in the criminal legal system because the cards are so heavily stacked against you that it's really hard, and that's why 90% of people take plea deals. So talk to me. You are also a 10%er. Come on, 10%er.
Yes.
Talk to me about being a 10%er. Talk to me about how scary it was to actually go to trial. Talk to me. Let everybody know about the conversation we had. I never forget. I was at the New York Chicken getting something to eat when I called you, and I was like, get rid of your lawyer, but we're going to trial. And I didn't discourage you.
No.
I wanted you to do that. I wanted you to have that experience because you lose so much of your rights when you don't go to trial,
right,
when you take a plea deal. So talk to me about your decision to go to trial. Talk to me about changing your attorneys and the support you got through that.
So, a lot like yourself, I worked as a contractor in the legal system since 96. And I grew up in that legal system from another perspective. I always saw people going to jail and going through stuff, but I never knew behind the scenes what they were going through or what they may be experiencing. This whole ordeal gave me a chance to see what it was like for them. This was degrading, it was demeaning, it was a horrific experience. I literally experienced being a grandparent with my daughter giving birth in chains. I had never been locked up before. I take that back. I got locked up for weed one time. but I ain't never do no time. And they gave me something to wear in there. They like put me in clothes, like it was serious. They really giving me the tray that don't have nothing on it. It's like slop. Like it's not just the movies. They don't give about you.
Right.
Or what you may have experienced, or they don't care. In my experience, if I didn't have Lar and the family I do have here supporting me, I don't know. I was lost. I didn't know what to do.
How was communication with your attorney?
Oh my God.
The first attorney.
My attorney told me to go and establish my case. Go come up with, you plan it. You do everything. And then come back and see me.
Didn't he threaten you if you took a plea or something?
Right. And then my next appointment from him, he said you need to take a plea. They have too much against you. You just plead it out. I mean, they really want you to testify against your co-defendant. Well, my co-defendant was my daughter and my boyfriend. So I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
It was horrific. It was horrific.
I remember. How did you find me? We got a surprise for y'all. But I wanted you to say, how did you find me? And then we're gonna go back to talk about how we knew each other in the past.
Okay. So I didn't find you. My mother found you.
No.
But wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute.
No.
Okay.
I think it was through Court Watch.
It was my Kayla. So one of my friends, and that's really spooky, because the friend that she knew me, that's who I moved here from Detroit with. Like I've been knowing her since I was in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. She knew Michaela and she was helping us get through the whole process. Lyra had been working for her for years and years doing daycare, ever since she was in high school. And so at any rate, she introduced us to Michaela, who then introduced my mother to you, because I was in jail. Lyra was in jail, and then Lyra came home. And when I came out, she was going back in. Like we literally passed each other because they were charging her with something else. So it was a mess. But that's how I met you. That's what brought me to LAR, is Michaela. She introduced us to you.
And I also remember that the state didn't care anything about your family.
No.
They didn't care that your daughter was pregnant with your first grandchild.
No.
They didn't care. As a matter of fact, a part of your conditions of release was that you and your daughter had to live separately because you all were co-defendants. Y'all had to live apart. Y'all couldn't talk. Right. And I thought that was the most craziest thing, but it wasn't surprising, because the way that the system operates is that it's designed to take apart and to destroy families through co-defendant relationships.
Right.
What else? I think that another thing that I remember is us being able to kind of like help you navigate, like, because you were on home. Who was on home monitoring?
I was on home monitoring.
You was on home monitoring.
She was on home monitoring initially. Then I was on home monitoring. And during the home monitoring process, some type of legislation.
How long were you on home monitoring for?
It started the day I got out, which would have been December the 14th of 2022. And I got off in the next summer. Was it? Oh, it might have been that fall, because when I went to LAR Surviving Justice. Mm-hmm. I went with the ankle bracelet.
You did.
You guys helped me.
We had to do a motion to the judge. We had to help you get the motion to the judge so that you can be so that you can go to Ocean City with us.
City. Yeah.
So I want to say it's like a year.
Process, yeah, a legislation was passed, and it basically stopped the government from making payments on that monitoring during, just out of the blue. Like, just one day they sent a letter and was like, okay, you owe $500 a month, because that's what I gotta pay you to put something on my ankle is $500 a month, and we need you to pay it today.
And what happened? How do we kick in? Because LAR, we do this with the basis of legislation and advocacy and civic engagement, understanding the process and being able to jump in and go down to Annapolis to testify on quality of life bills that impact people who are being impacted by the system. So, what did we do to support you in that?
You guys supported us.
I think we wrote a letter. I think we wrote a letter. Yeah.
I know that after you spoke with him, they ended up redoing the legislation somehow. And it was paid. It was then paid. And it was
the threat
like
of that is if you didn't pay, what was going to happen?
They'll send you back to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this happened in 2 weeks. It happened in like 2 weeks because I never had to make a payment. I got by before they changed the legislation. Yes, you guys did a lot.
What's another thing that I want to talk about? You went to court. I think 2 years, 2.5 years. Your case lasted.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about it because your charge. It's not like it was a shoplifting charge, or it was a charge where theft or anything like that. It was a quality of life charge, and you were charged with what?
Murder.
I'm gonna look at the camera. You were charged with murder. First of all, you were overcharged, right? It was literally
nobody
died. So listen, you could be charged with murder even though nobody dies.
Right.
It was an altercation, a really bad altercation that had taken place. And yes, there was a firing of a firearm, but you weren't the one that did it.
No, and to shed some light on it, even though I know it doesn't matter to law, this is how our criminal justice system works, though, for a family. So my daughter was 8 months pregnant. She gets into it over a baby mama, baby daddy drama. And she ends up on the ground, 8 months pregnant, getting stumped in her stomach. And I'm standing there, and I stop it. And when I stop it, someone else shot out into the crowd. And we went to trial, faced 75 years for that. For that.
75 years was your time, your exposure, your time that you were exposed to. And I just remember saying to myself, this can't happen this way. This can't happen this way. And I went to every day of your trial. And it was, I'm getting better now, 7 years after I've been home. But when I first used to go to cases, I used to be so triggered. Just triggered at the sight of the prosecutor, triggered at the sight. So every time something would happen, or you would, somebody would testify, or it didn't look like it was going so well, I mean, my stomach would just hit the floor. And I remember the tears that just started flowing from my face when both you and your daughter were vindicated. Talk to us a little, because there's many different ways that you can be vindicated. You can be acquitted at trial. You could be found not guilty. Start off by telling us, how many charges did you have in total, and how many did you end up with?
So we started off with 8 charges. I started off with 8, and I ended up going to the jury with 1. The rest were, what's the word I'm looking for?
Dismissed.
Dismissed.
They were dismissed.
Right. And so they don't care. They don't care.
You were overcharged. It was, it was apparent to the judge that you should have never been charged. That's why those other 7 charges, were dismissed, and you were The elements to the charge didn't fit what had happened, but the prosecutor didn't care. He just charged you anyway. And I never forget when they came back and said not guilty on that one charge. I was like, we did it.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
It was a big chance for you to go to trial.
Yeah.
But you are a part of like miracle for the criminal legal system.
Yes.
To come out on the other end as a black woman that was charged with murder, to come out on the other end of that with one count and to be found not guilty.
Well, that's what it looked like on the outside. But on the inside, you come out of that with fear of people, everyday life, sounds, noises. You become emotional. You need therapy. You need things that don't show on the outside. That's what you get when you get vindicated. That's what you get.
Did you get an apology from the state's attorney's office? I want people to know. Did you get an apology? Did they say, oh, I'm so sorry that we overcharged you. I'm so sorry that, you were found not guilty. We were wrong. My bad. Did they contact,
No, he turned beet red, though. He did.
Because you weren't supposed to make it out.
Right.
You were supposed to go from there and spend 25. And just imagine, how many times did it come across your mind, like maybe I should plead guilty?
Sitting in jail all the time while I was sitting in jail. Once I got out, I don't know, maybe once, twice a week. The anxiety is real.
I knew from the beginning I was never going to take a plea.
Did you?
I knew it because there was no way I hadn't done what they said I did.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was like, no, I'm not pleading guilty. And so, I'm still fighting my case to this day. For you, you're lucky because you get to walk out, you're done. But me, as a person who, went to trial and got found guilty on some of the charges, I had a 20-count indictment.
Wow.
And out of my 20-count indictment, I think I got found guilty on about 6 charges. And now I'm at the point where one whole case has been completely expunged through our expungement process and going back to court and all of that and getting it, reduced to a PBJ. And now I have 2 more counts left. I've gone up to the courts of special appeals in the state of Maryland to have part of my case vacated, and I'm going to continue. Right? Because I believe that strongly in my case, and I believe that when we fight, we win. And I think I've told you that so many times.
Over and over
when
again.
we fight, we win. And I'm just so grateful that you trusted me.
Thank you.
That you trusted the process.
Thank you.
And so today we found out that well, I already knew, but it had to catch up with you because we getting old.
Oh man!
But it comes to find out that we knew each other from way back.
Way back.
We were very good friends. In high school.
Yes.
And I was like, I know you from somewhere, girl. He was like, I don't know. I got picked up a couple of pounds.
2 years.
2 kids. How does that full circle land for you today?
Oh my God, it's amazing. It's like humbling. I would have never, oh my God, I can't express this enough. I would have never come to you if I had remembered who you were.
Really? Why?
I would not have asked you for anything.
Why?
Because we've been there. Because we did that. Because we've been there. And it just, I'm prideful.
We all are.
I don't want nobody to know. I don't want that stigma. So I get it when you say you went through it by yourself, because it is something you go through by yourself, but it's also something that damages you in a way that makes you distrustful. And full circle, I love you. I love you.
Look at that. You wouldn't have asked me. Good, I'm glad you didn't remember who I was. I'm so glad.
I still
I'm
didn't.
so glad.
I can't believe I did all those things now. Like, oh my
I'm
God.
so glad.
I actually
I
worked
know
for
you.
Qiana. Damn, they call her boss lady. Like,
And I hate that. I hate when they do that. I really do. I hate when they do that.
And Brian, that's the one that was in her stomach. Oh my God. He's grown. Like, he's walking around and stuff. And his father. Oh my God. Oh my God. So, yeah, I had an emotional overload today. But I thank you. I thank you.
And I thank you for not disappearing.
Oh, man.
I thank you that after your case was done, you saw it enough to still get on our volunteer calls, to still show up, because so many people, once they get, and let me be very, very clear, our track record is better than some attorneys. We have four acquittals now under our belt.
Right.
There's some attorneys you can talk to that acquittal at trial.
Right.
It's only 10% of people that even go to trial.
Go to trial.
So, you know, for you to say and get such a massive win, a win that is something that you deserve to have,
right,
to save you from 75 years in prison to 0, to walking out of that court a totally free woman, because you trusted the process. Yeah. And God didn't let you remember who I was at the time, because he wanted you to come as your authentic self. Yeah. And so now we know, and we can rekindle. We can do this.
Yeah, we can do this. We can do
when
this.
We fight, we what?
We win.
Okay.